What does this button do?
Galaxy Brain, activate!
Begun to fray, its lands rent by tooth and claw.
Myself, you know. And I've had enough of this rabble. Come on!
As the chaos spread, the star seemed doomed to unravel, and yet there were those who stood in defiance of that fate.
The hour is come, creature. It's all or nothing.
But will our hero deign to play their part?
You took your time. 'Tis as we feared. The respite afforded this land was but fleeting. The end draweth nigh. Secrets to tell. Take care, my friend.
So, Charlian would keep its counsel while the world is lost to ruin?
It would. Come what may, we shall live on. We must.
Do as you must, then. But we scions will fight until the heavens fall, until our last breath.
edge of fate. Ring blades dark and light. Tolling the coming of the end.
Hi there, everybody. How's it going today? There we go. That was weird, it didn't load my character at all, but now it did, so we're good. How's everybody doing today? How's your life going? How are things? Sorry that we started a little bit late today. We had Uncle's funeral today, and then got back, and I was waiting for Grandpa to get off the to get out of the bathroom so that I could help him call his brother-in-law. But then once he got out, he got in his chair, put a blanket over himself, and immediately zonked out. So I guess we'll just have to schedule that call for tomorrow. Yeah, hi, howdy, and welcome. Hope your day's going well. Hope things are doing good. As you can see, I'm in my funeral clothing. This is my funeral shirt. It's the shirt I've worn to like a dozen plus funerals so far. So y'all get to see what I look like when I'm dressed up a little bit. It's not much different from normal, just slightly fancier. I'm also a little bit buzzed. After the funeral, we all went down to the Mexican restaurant, and several of us ordered margaritas. And the waiter dude, because my stepdad said that he didn't taste much tequila in his margarita, the waiter dude came around and added about that much margarita, or that much tequila to every one of the margaritas. There was a lot of tequila in there. So a little bit buzzed. And I decided that, you know what? Fuck it, life's short, so why not keep the buzz going, and we'll have a fun stream where I'm a little bit buzzed the whole way through, hopefully. So that's the plan for tonight. There was also a very cool and interesting development. One of the people that showed up to the funeral is the son of a family friend of mine, of ours. Hi there, Oizen. One of the people that showed up at the funeral is a family friend, the son of a family friend of ours. The family friend has basically viewed my uncle as kind of a brother. So he read a Bible passage at the funeral, and him and his son were there with us. I use son because that is that person's preferred pronouns now. They have been on testosterone and undergoing transition for a little bit now. I've known them most of my life. They were only like 1 or 2 years younger than me, and obviously we had hung out a lot when we were kids and everything. So yeah, I've known them for quite a while, and it's really cool that they not only are they transitioning, but they brought their partner along with them, who is very, very supportive of their transition and is a very positive force. And also what was cool to see is that their father is being very supportive of their transition. And yeah, it's something really cool to see in a heavily conservative place. in a heavily conservative place, and in a place where, you know, I had a gay friend in high school that had to deal with his parents being very somewhere between abusive and just downright awful to them. It's awesome to see a parent that is being supportive of their child who is going through a life-changing, a whole life-changing journey and path. So that was really cool to see as well. There were obviously some comments among the people that were at the restaurant with us who were, you know, being a little bit dickish, but overall and generally supported. A lot of people were supportive, and so that was yeah, just really awesome to see. So glad to see that. As I mentioned, I was at the funeral, and there were many photos. It was about a 5.5-minute slideshow that got played at the funeral. Various pictures from my uncle's life, and there were a ton of photos in there of me as a baby with him that I never knew existed. You know, I know there was a couple, but yeah, just there was a heck of a lot more in there, and it was neat to see photos of him from before he got into drinking, or when it hadn't become a problem for him yet. And like I've mentioned before, when we've talked on the subject, you know, I don't really mourn the person that passed. What I mourn is the person that I never really got to meet, the person that was there before I got to an age where I started building memories and where I got to start, you know, having memories and remembering things. And you know, by the time that point came, he had already gone down a really bad path. So it was really cool to get to see all sorts of photos of him from when he was younger, when he was a child or a teenager, or you know, in high school. Especially some of the 80s fashion that he was rocking. That was quite interesting to see him and some of his friends rocking, you know, yeah, rocking fashion that I've only seen in 80s movies. That was kind of fun. So yeah, that's been my day so far. Oh, and we got a plant, because there were 3 things that were gifted to us at the funeral. One was a lantern, like a candle about that big, and a glass housing to it, like a little lantern. One was a very tasteful wreath that was designed with kind of harvest colors in mind. And then the other thing was a plant, which through some research appears to be a peace lily, and it is quite substantial. I've currently got it set in the living room on the table that Grandpa sits at sometimes when he's looking through books or getting his bills sorted. So I'm going to treat. I thought about getting like a water bulb or something where I could just put that in and not have to worry so much about watering it, but I'm going to do a trial for the first week or so of seeing if I can be a good plant caretaker and checking it every day. From what I found with this particular plant, it's best to basically plop my finger in the soil, and if the first inch of soil is dry, that means it wants some water. So we're going to try that out for this first week. And if I can keep up on it, and if I feel it's something I'll be able to build a routine out of, then we'll just go that route instead of going the plant bulb route. Kind of treating it as a pet, I guess you could say. Because that'll be nice for a nice plant to be in Grandpa's, out in the living room with Grandpa, and you know, just a little extra something for the house. You can do it! So yeah, that was the day. I made sure to eat after downing so much tequila. That's also a little bit of why we started a little late, because I wanted to get some food in this belly. So I was just, oh my god. I mean, that glass was that tall, bigger than my head, and I swear that like that much of it was tequila. That was a lot. Mom was toasted. Mom was completely blasted, because she not only had the one that was super high tequila, but then she ordered another, and I'm pretty sure before I left she was getting another one. So, yeah, Mom's gonna be blasted tonight. Yeah. So that's been my day, everybody. I'm glad we can have this chat. We are going back. I forgot my beautiful face. Hold on. And boom, there we go. We are back in Final Fantasy today. We left off on some high notes yesterday. Some positive things that happens, which is very good. Before we continue with that, though, I see I have a mail notification, so I'm going to go and check what this mail notification is. I have an inkling of who it might be from. Nope, should have gone to the lobby. Meant to go to the lobby. There we go. Ooh, Oizen has redeemed pick a minion. Rich of emotion. Dynamis crystal. Interesting. Thank you, Various. I wonder, do we have any recipes that are unlocked for that yet? We do. And they are all level 90. And they are all for crafting things. Interesting. Very interesting. I do like that outfit. That is a nice looking outfit. That as well. That's very nice. Alright, so we have an Oizen that wants to select a minion. Oh, we have a green dot. What's the new minion? Oh, that's right. We gotta wind up Susano. So let me know when to stop or what minion you would like to pick. Red Panda. Red Panda. There it is, the Lesser Panda. It's not lesser, not in our hearts. There are several theories as to how a beastkin native to the mist-covered peaks of southeastern Ilsabard ended up thousands of leagues away from its home, and most involve an unhealthy infatuation with the furry creature by a certain imperial legatus. And there we go. And so for at least the next hour, we will have our red panda following us around. Which the special part about the red panda is that it is a shoulder panda. Yeah. Shoulder panda. Everybody loves a shoulder panda. Okay. Love. So I think before we jump right into story, I kind of want to get a tank up to level. We're not going to get it all the way up to level, but I kind of want to use the roulette to build up my my tank. So we're going to do 1 or 2 roulettes real quick, just to get that going. God, where's my... There we go. I believe there is one Various of the... Oh. Ah, Various is in Sigmascape. Neato. You finished? Oh, look at that. Look at that timing. That is impeccable timing. Impeccable. Sir Barius of the Bradsky, would you like to come along for a roulette or two? Nearino. All right. So we're going to hop into the 50, 60, 70 dungeons. And we're already in the dungeons. Let's see if we get a good high level one. Grand Cosmos, I'll deal with that. That's cool by me. The plus side is tanking is actually pretty easy. So I feel I won't screw up too bad here, even if I'm a little bit tipsy. Nice. And we're gonna drag these buddies out of here. So there's two big boys that want to see us. I'm pretty sure I remember this boss, which is going to do a bunch of broom stuff. Smooth as butter. Yeah, this really feels like the second dungeon that's Fantasia inspired. The first one being one that was post Heavensward, which was the Anti-Tower. That would have been the name. This boss is all about the plants. Smooth as butter. Like butter. Barry says roast these pigs. Roast them? So what, like make comments about how they were, how they're really bad in bed and terrible at stand-up comedy? Hi, ghostly people. I have a plate. Okay, that too. That works, yeah. Nice. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much, Barius, for being an excellent machinist there. All right. And Sir Barius, are you up for a leveling? Wow. Your reply loaded in my monitor, but not in Twitch. I don't know why Twitch does that. But cool, so we're going to get some leveling going. I don't think that'll give me 3 million, but it ought to give me a hefty enough chunk to get my Dark Knight right up there to about 84. Oh, excuse me. In random ass news that I read while, you know, dining and drinking after the funeral, apparently the who was known as like one of the world's best Guitar Hero players got outed as a big fat fraud. The reason being, so apparently the player was really good at Guitar Hero, but they had been over the last couple years or so, they'd been taking bounties and challenges to do like impossible songs or like impossible things for songs, right? And people would notice some weird things about their videos. That, for example, one video you got to briefly see a frame of Windows Media Player, or there would be random cuts happening while they were live, or random dark frames, stuff like that. Surprise, it turned out that the player had been, doing things like, for example, playing a song really slow and recording it and then speeding it up to play live, or other nefarious things like that. They had gotten thousands of dollars from doing these bounties and challenges, and at first they tried to downplay it and say, well, maybe I fudged a couple things, but everything else is legit. And then, yeah, they came full forward and said, yeah, I fucked up. I'm a big fat fraud, and they ended up returning all the money and basically locking down and closing all their various social media accounts. Sad that they did the fraud, but also, if you were already like actually legit, because they had done some playing live at like events and stuff, and from all accounts, they were a good Guitar Hero player. So why sully that by, I don't know, fabricating skills to do bounties and challenges and stuff? Like, I mean, yeah, you get some money out of it, but you had to expect that no matter what, you're going to be found out eventually. Like, nerds are nerds. Nerds, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna see through it eventually. We're gonna find that one little pixel that's out of place and declare it's all fake, right? There was also an article I read on potatoes, specifically Canadian potatoes, in which there's a province that has a whole bunch of... Wow. Well, I had the leveling thing on, but we still got... Or I had the level limit on, but we still got plates low, but that's all right. We get a sprout or two. That's always fun. Anyway, Canadian potatoes. There's a province that their potatoes have been taken over by... potato warts, which isn't harmful to humans. It's just detrimental to the potatoes. It means you have lower production, and they don't look as they don't look like the potato that people expect, you know. But yeah, those potatoes. The province is basically suffering because that's like their main exports, and America has said like, nah, we don't want your potatoes, bro. No, we don't want your warts and shit. Wow. Okay. That was on me. And as I said before, this is why I love the Final Fantasy community, because with the exception of a couple times that you've seen on stream, in the majority, everyone's not a dick to each other when something goes wrong. We all just agree that, yeah, you know, things happen. There is another... okay, good. I was about to say, there has to be another ad group up here. Otherwise, I'm dragging 2 dragons for nothing. Arengda. Damn. I thought that one was going to be an innie, not an outie. You know, I don't know if it's just because I ran Vault so many times, but like the music here, I always associate it with Vault. It just immediately brings to mind Vault rather than any of the other dungeons from Heavensward. Very nice. Uh-oh, somebody woke up the mama. Hi there, hobo. How you doing? Yeah, that's the first team I've been with in a while that didn't immediately kill the mustard gas. A lot of teams, they just kill it right away. Very nice. Alright, now it's time for a bunch of itty-bitty tiny dragons. Come to me. There we go. Alright, I believe that's all the itty bitties. Now we fight the mighty Nidhogg. I gotta level up. All right. GG, team. Good job. All around. Oh. Man, my butt's sore. Oh. Been a whole lot of sitting today. I was surprised, though. The, Hi and bye, Audie. See what clip we get this time around. And really, aren't we all in it for the shiny medal? I think that's what we're all really here for, is the shiny medal. Yeah, as I was going to say, I was surprised that the church, as I've mentioned, I've been to a lot of funerals. It's very rare for churches I've been to have cushioned pews. This one was an exception. They were very nicely cushioned. I was surprised by that. That was yeah, that was a net positive. Now again, this church is inside of what used to be. God dang, I did it again. Is inside of what used to be a gym, a fitness center. So it was also interesting to see how they converted things. I don't know what different parts of churches are called, but the part of the church that had the pews and the, you know, where they would, I guess, do their Sunday service, that part used to be the racquetball courts. Well, one side was a racquetball court, the other side had been like for dance practice or a dance studio. The area where we did our food and stuff, that had used to be like the main part of the gym, like where all the weight machines and treadmills and stuff were. It seemed like what they did was so the bathrooms used to be, you know, locker rooms, the shower, and a sauna. It seems like they had, you know, took out the saunas and they like walled off where the saunas had been and made that part be part of the eating area. What was also intriguing was in the eating area they had a world map hung up, a really big one, that listed Russia as the Federation of Russia and then Canada as Dominion of Canada. I feel like if Canada was called the Dominion of Canada, like if that was how we referred to it, you know, in general, I would actually be a lot more frightened of Canada. Like Dominion just has that word, it has that feel to it, right? Aw, some purple dye. Thank you, Barius. Always love a good purple dye. So we'll continue with the story in a second. Real quick, I want to go and empty my inventory of the countless items that I have no use for but will help the free company. Okay, so Hobo's doing good today. Various, are you feeling better today? And Oizen, I don't know how you're doing today. Are you doing good today as well? And the other 5 people watching, how are y'all doing today? That's good to hear. Feeling much better? That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Okay, since we have an excess of seals, let us go ahead and buy a couple more random minion containers. Let's see if we get some new minions. So out of this container, we get Wind Up Bismarck. I don't know if I have that. Let's see. We do not. Cool. So we now have a flying whale. Awesome. And out of this one, we are getting Assassin Fry. There was an old beta who swallowed a fry. No one knows why it swallowed the fry, but for some reason the fry can now fly. Awesome. So now we have a new fishy. That was my main for probably all of Heaven's Ward. I've never encountered before, so that's interesting. Seeker of Solitude. Okay. So that can go returned in. We will sort. There we go. Okay. So let's see, the next dungeon is gotta be 87. Okay. So we'll stick to our Black Mage for now until it gets to 87, and then we'll give the rest of our stuff to the Astrologian. It was rare drop from Trial Boss, that would explain it. Because I don't think I've gone against Bismarck more than a very tiny handful of times. Elpis, there we go. It's 87, just so you're not surprised and component. That's what I figured, because it's usually every 2 levels, so... The Black Mage, after, what, probably, like 3 or 4 story quests ought to be up to level, and that'll be fine. So, to catch everybody up who wasn't here last night, we learned more about, Dynamis. We learned more about Dynamis, which is it's an energy force that is different from ether, and in fact very almost impossible to perceive, let alone manipulate. And it is an energy force that is tied specifically to emotion. We also learned that Medion here, a familiar created by Hermes, she was created specifically to perceive Dynamis. And oh yeah, we're in the past. Technically, by being here, we are in like the super ancient past, like what, thousands of years ago. And Hermes, Emet-Selch, and Hythlodaeus. Hermes, Emet-Selch, and Hythlodaeus are part of the original race, the original humans that lived here long ago and have creation magic and can create things. Tell me, Kuroja, in the course of watching me, have you learned aught of value? Dynamis seemed promising. Dynamis, you say? Curious that such an obscure phenomenon should be of interest to you. Chief Hermes, what good fortune to find you here. Is something the matter? The Ichion, I'm afraid it's done it again. No sooner did we release one for observation than it set upon the nearby occupites, slaughtering them. Was the creature hungry or somehow provoked? I just fed them myself, and the occupites were keeping a wide berth. It is the nature of the Ichion that is to blame, their innate viciousness. Temperament aside, it is an outstanding creation, perfect in form and function. Though it may not be suited for release, I have no doubt that the Bureau will accept its concept for preservation. In any case, there's no point postponing the inevitable. Doros will revert them all once the paperwork is in order. Where's the scene of the incident? Just off the path to the 12 Wonders. As you make your way, you should see it on the left. I don't know if Doros is still there, however. Hermes, wait! If this is part of his work, then I would observe. We follow. I don't think I'll ever be able to get a perfect MSL. For one, I've pretty much abandoned trying to do accents, and for two, I think he's at the low end of my register, and that just ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Maybe with a lot of practice. Okay, so the Occupedes are the very angry and mean birds that Barius and I had a lot of fun with in Boja. Okay. While we're here, we'll go and do this fate real quick. A Yggdrasil. So a combination of Yggdrasil and Triet, I guess. Let's party so you don't hear random battle music when I die in round Elpis while you're doing story. That's very kind of you. Oh, we gotta summon our Lucibo. There we go. Easy enough. Poison you may want to avert your eyes. There are dead burbs here. The Triceratops with wings. The lacerations and burns are unmistakable. An Ichion, a Ichion? A Ichion? A icon? Icon? Was indeed responsible. The creature is nowhere to be seen. Doros must have taken it away. The man makes his base at the 12 Wonders. I shall go and seek him out there. Mid Sulk and I will search the area for good measure, just to make sure the Ichion did not escape. My thanks. Let us meet at the 12 Wonders when you have finished. I will go on ahead. Please follow with Kuroja. Come, come. It's down this path and over the bridge. Honestly, do not know a hell of a lot about what is going on, but it is great fun to watch. Okay. Extremely short primer. We are in the past because one of the original humans whose soul still existed within the giant crystal tower used the last bit of energy that comprised his soul to send us into the past so that hopefully we can avert the final days which are currently occurring in our world in the present, but also the final days is what occurred thousands of years ago and wiped out the original humans except for a few, and the only reason the world still existed was because the world was split into 14 worlds, the main world and then the 13 reflections of that world, and the primals that did that were created by the sacrifices of the original humans. Now, one of the primals, which represents darkness, which is activity and growth, was destroyed by one of the original humans, who basically wants all existence to end. And because of that destruction, that means all ether is becoming stagnant and weak, and also people are turning into hideous monsters when they get overwhelmed with guilt or despair or sadness. So yeah, we're in the past to try and figure things out because it turns out that there is not just ether that we're all familiar with, but there's also dynamis, which is emotional energy that we want to learn more about because the goddess of light who sent us on this journey long, long ago in A Realm Reborn gave us at the beginning of Endwalker a flower that could sense emotion, and that flower has since perished. It literally crumbled because there was so much despair. So yeah, that's a quick primer. I'm sure that helps make a lot more sense, right? But yeah, also there are red pandas that ride on your shoulder. That's a very important point we need to know. And the area that we are in is Elpis, which is basically the original humans had creation magics and could create things from ether. And this was, I guess, their testing ground of creating new life forms and then seeing how those life forms could function and if those life forms could exist within the world at large. And those that couldn't were reverted to ether. Those that could were released into the world. So this game is a reflection of the present world situation. Got it. I mean, in a way, it can be, kind of, yeah. Grips. Not griffins, grips. Medion, I love you, but we're going to zoom right past you to attune to that ether. Oh my god, it's like I'm looking at the legendary Pokemon of like a single generation. Wow. Boom. Wonder what's up there. Ooh, there's an ether current. We haven't attuned to any of them yet, so we'll grab that real quick. Okay, finally we'll continue on with Medion. There it is! The 12 Wonders! Hermes is looking for Doros. Let's look for Doros, too. He's a man with long, blonde hair, I think. I'll know him when I see him. So, a man with long blonde hair named Doros. Well, that's a blonde-haired woman. Dark-haired man. This could be one of those things where we have to talk to everybody no matter what. Okay, we can't go in there. Loros? We found a Loros, but not Doros. Blonde-haired man. Hey, there we go. Doros! That's Doros! Well, now, if it isn't Medion, what brings you here? Ah, I thought I heard familiar voices. I didn't realize you two had decided to help me search for Doros. Thank you. You're in charge of the Iconians, I believe. Where are they now? Out in the field in restraints. Frenzied as they were, I couldn't well return them to Ktisis. These names are going to kill me. These names are just going to destroy me. Once I've submitted my report, I'll see them reverted without delay. It's as he says, the beasts are indeed quite ferocious. You're one of 14. What brings you here? Nothing you need concern yourself with, as you were. We've heard the news that Ikion slaughtered Occupants. As the observer in charge, you are of the opinion that they are not fit to be released? Aye, I am. Their abnormal aggression and exceptional strength makes for a highly problematic combination. Matters not where they are released. Okay, so it's been an L this whole time, but I've been pronouncing it with an I. Well. Lycones would threaten other species and upset the natural order. Could it be that the specimens observed are an outlier? Highly unlikely. We've created a good many of them. All exhibited the same tendencies. Even when we used Kairos to begin with a fresh slate, their behavior was unchanged. Kairos? A memory reconfiguration system. The chief himself created it. Allows us to erase or alter memories, that we may observe creations in different environmental conditions without needing to remake them from scratch. Quite impressive, and potentially dangerous. Depending on the intensity of the etheric emissions, Pastoral may wish to have words with you. Rest assured, I've kept all values within prescribed limits, and to prevent misuse, its applications are limited to those authorized by the Chief Overseer. Do not misunderstand. To manipulate a subject's memories is an intrusive act I deeply abhor, but it is still preferable to execution. Come now, Chief. Let's not be so melodramatic. What was born of ether is simply being reduced to its original state. I know the distinctions concern you, but we mustn't lose sight of the bigger picture, making rational choices for the sake of a more prosperous star. If a creation cannot be properly studied, even with the aid of Kairos, we remake it. If creation is deemed a detrimental existence, we unmake it. 'Tis all for the greater good, and none question the necessity of such routine processes. I understand these things, I do. We never think to unleash a clear and undeniable threat unto the world. Yet, insignificant though their individual lives may be next to all creation, it is all the Lycaonians have. Before we seal their fates, we owe it to these beings to exhaust all options, to ensure that nothing has been overlooked. If you insist, let me provide you with a full report and we may take it from there. Would it be possible for us to attend the discussion? That Emmett Selk may better carry out his duties. By all means. Pray show them to the meeting room. You can tell Medion is sad, so that must mean Hermes is sad. To man, other beings are just things, to be used and controlled, like magic. That's what Hermes told me once. I fear this discussion may take a while. During which time, Medion, are you feeling unwell? It's not me, Hermes. It's you. I won't go to the meeting. I'll stay with Kurocha. Loath I am to impose, may I leave Medion in your care again? Absolutely. We love Medion. I'm in your debt. If you'll excuse me. Can you help me with something, Kurocha? The meeting will make Hermes sad. I want to cheer him up with a flower. Hermes likes flowers the most. All the creations in Elpis. Most creations are expected to be interesting, or beautiful, or strong. Better in some way. But flowers are different. They're designed to suit our emotions, what we feel and want to convey. Hermes likes that. I can't make flowers, so I'll search for one. And I want you to search with me. Let's start here, at the 12 Wonders. My chocobo is very protective of Medion. Vibrant purple flowers bigger than your hands adorn the tree. Ooh, so big and bright. I love them. But they might be too bright. You have to think of the recipient. That's what Hermes said. A tall, slender tree rises before you. You crane your neck to look at the flowers. No flowers. If they were apples, we could have covered them in syrup. Let's head outside next. Don't worry, we won't wander far. An array of beautiful flowers grow in the bed, their mix of colors forming a pattern. These would be better for Hermes, but they're hedged in. That means we shouldn't touch them. They're either under observation or poisonous. Any other place should be fine, though. Let's keep looking. Set on a tall, thin stalk, the oddly shaped flower is mesmerizing in its undulations. That's not a flower. That's not a flower. That's a creeper. Ooh, Oh, a cunyon! A flower that can move. When Hermes wasn't looking, it shot seeds at him. Not a good gift, maybe. But you're good, Kuroja, at spotting flowers. We'll find something soon. You spy nothing promising nearby. At best, common-looking grasses with some few tiny flowers. Nothing around here. Ah! Over there, Kuroja. Something big, something huge. Yeah, no, not a Marlboro. That is definitely not a flower. A terrible stench reminiscent of sodden old boots pervades the air. Without a doubt, the culprit is the Morbo-like creature before you. It's an Adonis! The things around its mouth look like petals, but the flowers are the orbs on its head. When Hermes inspected it, it swallowed him up. He didn't leave his room for days. What do you think, Kuroja? Would he like it? Probably not the good sort of memory, yeah. So not this one either. Finding a good flower... it's harder than I thought. I'm sorry, Kuroja. Could we search a little more? Maybe as far as the fields over there? I'll pick something after that, I promise. Those aren't flowers, those are birds. Lush green fields stretch out before you, ending where the sky begins. Aw, there's nothing. A shiny thing over there. What could it be? We'll go to that shiny thing in a second. I spy with my little eye an ether current. These aren't those the flowers we've been that have been in the story yet, are they? Oh, Elpis flowers. They're here too. Hermes likes and dislikes them at the same time. Like me, they're Entelekis. Like me, they feel his pain and turn dark. That's only for Hermes, though. For others, they're always white and bright. Truly? The flower was dark in your home? Then, do you have it too? A dark emotion? Dare say I have a few. You don't have to say it, I can feel it's something you want to hide. But won't you lend it to me? The darkness inside you? I want you to make the flower dark, in front of Hermes. He has been in a dark place since before he created me. He needs to know that he isn't there alone, that others are sad too. Truly? You'll do it? Thank you, Kurocha. Thank you. It means more to me than I can say. I can't wait to see how Hermes reacts. Let's go back and fetch him. Feels like a lot of the media I've consumed recently has had a theme of, yeah, suffering sucks, but know that you're not suffering alone. It seems they're still talking. Let's wait until they've finished.
Hermes!
Oh, you were waiting for me.
You've finished talking?
Yes, we've come to a decision. My thanks for keeping Meteon company. Emmett Selk and Hythlodaeus have already retired to their rooms. There is room for you too, if you would follow me.
Wait! I want to show you something first.
Elpis flowers?
Go on. You're not the only one, Hermes. Others feel sad too. You're not alone.
I see Meteon has shared much with you. May we talk a moment? I do not think it wrong that we live for the star, that we strive to make it a better place. And yet, in carrying out my duties here, there are times when I am plagued by doubt. Do you recall what Hythlodaeus said when we first spoke of my nomination? Death is the privilege of those who have fulfilled their purpose, a choice they embrace of their own free will. And when they depart, it is always beautiful. Perhaps it is, but only for man. Creations that he deems useless are discarded with nary a second thought. Some scarcely born into the world, afforded a handful of breaths before life and potential are abruptly extinguished. We make an effort to spare them the pain. But they sense what awaits. Rage and anguish and cower and fear. And it is not beautiful. Yet no one cares. No one. So fixated are we upon the duty that we do not pause to question the method. Pain and suffering, confusion and despair, writ plain in the eyes of those poor creatures. Yet no one sees. We turn a blind eye and carry on in blissful ignorance. Not amiss. And always, always the blossoms shine pure and white. A contradiction so blatant I could scream, want to scream. How can you all accept this aberration? Then I wonder, am I the aberration for thinking thus? And I'm filled with dread. But now I know I'm not alone. Not the only one for whom the flowers weep. I won't ask what you thought as you kneeled beside the Alpes, or if you only did it at Meteion's insistence. Nevertheless, I thank you. To know that you too have experienced suffering is a comfort. To so willingly lend an ear to ease my burden, you are a strange one. The stars in the heavens. Know you what they are? Though it is too far to tell, each glittering light could be a world not unlike Aetheris. A world filled with life. So many stars, so many lives. For us, there may be no higher purpose than to live for our world. But what of the other living beings out there? What is it that gives their lives meaning? That drives them day after day after day? To pose that question to our undiscovered cousins, I created beings of dynamis, who can traverse the vast emptiness between the stars. Meteion and her sisters. Aye, sisters. She has a great many of them. And they have already departed on their journey, traveling to one star and then the next in search of life. As one might expect, exploration on such a grand scale is rife with difficulties, and thus far I've naught to show for it. But I have faith that we will make some manner of discovery ere long. And when we do, I should be glad to share our findings with you, in gratitude for your kindness. It's getting rather late. We had best find our beds. It would not do for both of us to be sleep-deprived on the morrow. Come, Meteion. Let us head back.
All right.
That will always get me. You mean, how he feels about being able to sense and feel the emotion the animals have, and how nobody. To know that you two have experienced suffering as a comfort. I was gonna say with regards to the animal parts. I mean, as most of you know, I grew up on a farm, and others in farming, at least many that I've met, the death of an animal or having to put down an animal, it's just, I don't know if it's a numbness after a certain point, or if it's just something because they view them as nothing but livestock. A lot of people I know just, it's really, I don't know, nonchalant about it, but for me, it's, yeah. I mean, that's why I've never really been wanted to be a hunter. That's why I don't, anything that I mean, hell, even something like gutting a fish, or for a brief period when we raised chickens and slaughtered the chickens, like anything like that, like I couldn't really stomach it, like yeah. It's just one of those things, like, I don't know, not obviously not that I'm an Entelechy or an empath or anything like that, but just I don't know, even if the animal maybe can't sense or feel it, it's almost like I feel it on their behalf. There's times, like late at night when I'm trying to fall asleep, I will get myself into a super sadness by just sitting there and thinking of, like, all the animals in the entire world that are dying for reasons they can't comprehend or anything. Yeah, I mean, even wild animals. I understand nature's nature, but whereas people might watch a documentary clip of, like, a tiger taking down an antelope and, like, oh yeah, that's cool, or something like that, to me it just, I still get really sad about it. I just want the tigers and the antelopes to live in harmony and not have to do any killing or anything. And it's a true sentiment as well that is parallel so much in that scene rings deep, yeah. Which really builds onto Hermes and really maybe hints a bit at what drove him almost mad, to the point where he wanted to destroy the star, destroy existence. Empathy is a gift. Projection of consequence is a real feeling for sure. Yeah, it's, I mean, you all remember what a wreck I was when it came to Lucy, and I've brought this up before. Actually, we'll go to chat screen real quick, because I know my face is important for you to see. I know I've brought this up before, but when it came to Lucy, I mean, one of the, it's possible, probably likely, that I tried too hard, and it's possible that I don't know, made her live longer than she should have. Maybe a year prior is when she should have been put down, or a couple years prior. I don't know. But one of the biggest reasons that I did so much and tried so hard to keep her alive was circa 2015. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty positive it was 2015. It might have been 2014, maybe summer of 2014, but I'm pretty dang sure it was 2015. I had to go to the wedding of one of my best friends from high school. She had gone to a different high school. She was in a different state. I drove 4 hours down to her wedding, and it was a great wedding. Had fun at the reception and everything. But I had already made a plan beforehand that, like, my life at the time was just shit. I hated everything about it. I hated existing. And at that time, like, I had been lying to my family for quite a while that I still had my job. They didn't know that I had gotten rid of the job, or that I had lost the job, and I had just been kind of lying to them. And it was during that period I was, I was subsisting on any canned shit I could find in the house. We're talking like condensed milk that was older than me, or anything like that. And so yeah, it just got to a point where I was just I felt hopeless and lost and fed up, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. So the plan was go to the wedding, celebrate the wedding, and then after everything was done, I was going to go to a hotel room and as the kids are required to say by terms and conditions, unalive myself. I spent about 3 days, I think, maybe 3 nights. I spent at least 2 full days in that hotel room. I ended up selling off my iPod to a pawn shop down there so that I could afford some food and afford some materials, and basically spent those 2 or 3 days just researching very hardcore on the internet. It's a way to kill myself, and thought I had a good means figured out that was within my capabilities. And when I started in on it and was going through the process and things were leaving my body, the one thought I had and the one thought that brought me back was Lucy. That, this is probably illogical, probably dumb, but my thought was Lucy wouldn't know where I had gone. Lucy wouldn't know why I never came back, and so to Lucy it would feel like I had just abandoned her, and she wouldn't understand why. And I didn't want it to be that way, and I also didn't think anybody else could take care of Lucy like I did. So that's what made me stop and bandage up and drive home, and finally admit maybe I needed to try and get some help and see stuff. And it took several years before I actually was able to get the help I needed. It wasn't until 2020 when I finally got Medicare, I believe, and was finally able to get back on medications I had been on years and years ago and everything. But I think that illustrates why I am the way I am with animals. I view animals as just little people, just other people. Even, like I said, even the idea of wild animals killing each other just makes me sad, and which is, again, dumb, I know, because nature is nature and things have to happen. Birds have to eat fish. Some things have to eat birds. I don't know what things eat birds, but things eat birds. I know cats eat birds. I know cats eat birds, but it just has to happen. I just I can feel Hermes in that sense of feeling that those around you don't really give a shit about the suffering of animals and just letting it happen. Yeah. Okay, maybe the drink of apple juice that I had just before drinking this changed it, but that was a horrible fucking taste. Oh, that was nasty. Okay, that one was better. For those of you that didn't already know all that about me, that's a little history of me, and that's why I'm very fond of animals, and also maybe why I'm also really into minions and stuff. Connections we make to animals and responsibilities we feel toward them are not great, and I wish it happened more. I'm obviously anti-death penalty. I'm anti-death penalty, though I'm anti-death penalty. I'm kind of anti-prison, though I think that, for example, sexual assaulters are a special kind of evil that they're a special kind of evil that I have to think really hard about how to fit within my anti-death penalty and fuck the prison mentality. But animal abusers, right out, kill them. I don't care. I don't care. Execute them. Hang them. I don't give a shit. Fuck animal abusers all the way. Which I know is really horrible to say that, because that's like saying, oh well, somebody killing a minority doesn't deserve the death penalty. Well, I mean, I'm anti-death penalty, and obviously that is really horrible too, and racist killing and hate crimes and all that shit is really bad too. It's just, I don't know, consider it a weird dumb contradiction, because I just view that there's an extra level of evil between somebody killing another human and somebody killing an animal, you know? With situations like Lucy, you just do your best on a day-to-day basis, no reason to rethink once it's over, yeah. And you know, that was just part of the struggle, was everyone else within my family really wanted her to be put down a lot earlier. And I mean, I ended up explaining to all of them exactly why, like, she meant so much to me. Like, that dog that you want to put down, that's the only reason you still have a son and a grandson, you know? Your feelings are valid. Being human is hard. I'm smiling, listening to my rescue mastiff snore in the background. She finally has a home and security for the first time in her life. That's the best thing you can do. That is such the best thing you can do. I think there's a psychological difference in judging someone harming an innocent and an equal, as it were. And yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah, like I said, that's what it comes down to. Is somebody that does something, somebody that slaughters a cat, for example. It just seems like such an extra level of evil, because I mean, you're not even attacking somebody that could conceivably actually fight back. You're killing a tiny animal. You're killing an animal that you outmatch like 10-1 just for the fuck of it. And yeah, especially abusers and everything. That's why rescues are you know, I know Grandpa, he'd like to have another dog around here. I would love if we could find a good, I don't know about a rescue pup, because I don't know if something that high energy would be good for Grandpa right now, but if we could find a good rescue dog that could integrate well with Grandpa, that could integrate well with a 90-something old man with memory issues and heart issues, I think would be awesome. And you know, my mom actually used to work in a pound down in Kansas. That I had, I don't know, 3 or 4 dogs when I was not super little, but kind of little. That were from the pound that she worked at. But basically, what Mom tried to do was an animal that they were likely going to have to put down because it had complications or defects or something that was going to make its life really, really difficult, and nobody anywhere was willing to take it or had the capability to care for it. Mom would bring those animals home, and it'd get to live with us for like a week or a month or something before it got put down. And of course, I didn't know at the time they were getting put down. Mom would explain it to me that, oh, they went off to the Humane Society, or somebody decided to pick them up. It wasn't until, I was in college, and specifically one night when I was really high and I was talking to Mom on the phone, that she told me the truth of what happened, and that shook my world. But one pup in particular that I remember, it was a little pug pup, and the problem it had was its eyes were straight out to the side, like straight out, to the point it could not see in front of itself at all, and it had trouble. It would bump into walls all the time, bump into anything all the time. And that also meant, like, if it was outside, it might walk into street or traffic. But it was a really lovable, adorable little pup, and so it lived with us for I don't know, a couple weeks or a month or so, and you know, lived in our house, hung out with us, slept in bed with me. Mom told me it. Yeah, Mom told me it went to the Humane Society to go live with a family on a farm. And I mean, I grew up on a farm. We had a bunch of random ass animals out there. It just made sense to me. Yeah, somebody wants a weird pug on their farm. Okay. Yeah, now I know the truth. But yeah, Hobo, what you're doing, that's amazing to have a rescue animal, and I hope more people. I feel like there's been an uptick in people searching out rescue animals, and I hope it keeps going. Hope that keeps up, because yeah, animals are just wonderful. People that abuse animals can be shot straight into the sun, and by sun I mean a wall that's full of really intensely sharp nails, and then after that shot into the sun. And yeah, so yeah, that's this talk. And to bring it back, I feel Hermes would probably agree. I mean, maybe that's why Hermes became what we know and wanted to wipe out the planet, was he saw somebody kick a chocobo and was like, fuck it, done, we're done here, we're fucking done. Bradbury, if he goes mad because Medion gets killed, uninstalling the game, but also reinstalling it and modding it so that we can agree with Hermes and wipe out the world. That's what I'm gonna go with. All right, let's get back to gaming, gamers. Verdict and execution. Oh boy. An all too brief interlude, perhaps, but it is time I attend to my next task. As Emmett Selk and Hythlodaeus are aware, we reached a verdict regarding the fate of the Lycaons. 7 were created for observation, and all 7 must be unmade. Doros has followed the correct protocols, and, as Chief Overseer, I can find no fault in his judgment. Lycaones would disrupt the natural order, ravaging and consuming other species until they themselves starve and perish. They cannot be released into the wild. They cannot be allowed to remain here in Elpis. I intend to petition the Bureau of the Architect to have the concept preserved as a restricted purpose hazardous life form. Hythlodaeus has pledged to support me in this endeavor. Yet, whatever the Bureau decides, the existing Lycaones have served their purpose. Doros has already isolated the creatures and is preparing to carry out the necessary measures. I will join him forthwith. It is my duty to witness the conclusion to this study. If you are resolved, then we have but to accompany you. Of course, let us be off then. We return to the main aisle. It'd be funny if, since some of these flowers might be poisonous, if you jumped in and immediately got 1 stack of poison. They were like giant wolves, it looks like. Doris, are you hurt? What happened here? They caught me off guard. I had them bound with ethereal shackles, but they became frenzied, even more so than usual, broke free. I was able to stop 4. The other 3 escaped. I see them. 2 have taken to the air above the 12 Wonders. The last is up ahead, looking in the fields. You and Kuroja handle that one. The pair in the sky you can leave to me. This is how it must end, then so be it. I will render assistance to Emmett Selk, unneeded though it is. Medion, you'd stay here with Doris. Hermes? The Lycaones must be reverted. I would spare you their pain, and mine. This is my burden, not yours. If you are intent on helping, then please follow my lead. Don't like that she's being left behind. Appreciate your help, and lament that it is necessary. There it is, our quarry. Within striking distance at present. But if it feels threatened, it may flee beyond our reach. Here's my plan. You will approach slowly in full view and draw the Lycaon's attention. Now, I warn you, its abilities are as fiery as its temperament. Once it spots you, it will unleash orbs of flame. Fear not. By my measure, you are more than equal to the task. Withstand the onslaught for a few brief moments, and that will give me time to catch it unawares. Ready? Then let us begin. Oh, destination. Okay.
Now! Oh. Forgive me. Please, forgive me. May you and your kin find peace. Wherever your souls may drift in the underworld. May you find tranquil seas. Be not forgotten. In concept endure. To reclaim form and one day live again. Serve not the star, or any purpose save your own. Live again, if that be your desire. Hate, if that be your want. We are worthy. But leave your suffering behind. Lay down your burdens, be born anew. Fly high, fly free.
Join the convocation, Hermes. You do not belong here.
Leave to replace another. To be replaced. It changes nothing. Tell me, do you think it right that we sacrifice all these lives for the sake of the star? And when the star has reached perfection, what then? If all who are satisfied choose to die, shall we all die in satisfaction? I do not know. Were I to take up the seat of Van Daniel, it would be tantamount to approving my predecessor's death. I do not know if it is right. And to be torn by such thoughts, I do not know if I am fit to represent mankind.
Hermes! Please don't be angry. It hurts so.
Forgive me. If you would still consider me in spite of everything, I beg some time to gather my thoughts. Meanwhile, Hythlodaeus, I fear I must trouble you to attend to the others.
'Tis no trouble at all. Take as long as you require.
And you, my friend, I pray you find that which you seek.
I expect we have some few matters to discuss. Shall we return to the 12 Wonders for a time?
Aye.
The other Lycaonians have been taken care of. The incident is resolved, and life in Elpis continues as normal. Or ends, as the case may be. Rationally speaking, I understand Hermes' arguments. No matter how well deserved the rest, there's a pang of sadness when a colleague leaves us. Yet never has a departure caused me such grief as Hermes appears to feel. What must it be like to experience such torment? Where to now? If there's anywhere you would like to visit before we leave, We'd be glad to show you the way. Hermes has not yet outright refused his position with the convocation, merely postponed the decision. As such, I may as well resume my assessments. I cannot accompany him. I will content myself with questioning his colleagues. Ever the pragmatist, allow me to remain your humble guide. What of you, Kuroja? Will you continue along with us? Wonderful. Our fellowship travels on unbroken. I say we explore another part of Elpis and see what new encounters there are to be had. If you would follow me, we will first head back towards Anagnosis. Anagnosis? Head back towards that place. Never gonna get that fucking word. Hold on, because it gave us the chucko thing. We have to do the tiny walk. It's just, I love it so much. From here, we follow the path northwards to Nathanias. There we will find one of the nays which facilitate travel between the islands of Elpis. First-time travelers must be accompanied by someone with the requisite permission, which I have previously been granted. We only need to use the device together once, and henceforth you will have leave to use it freely. Shall we? Wonder if we're gonna end up at the island that Medion was staring at earlier. Here we are, Nathanias. Nathanias will take us to Calamaleus Zephyros, the western island. That's it right there, looming large over us. Step this way and we can soon admire the view from above.
I present to you Calamaleos Zephyros.
I almost had it right.
Here you will find a number of testing facilities, as well as the observation hub of Poiton Oikos. Right then. Let's begin by... Well, well. An Arraius. How delightful.
If you can't love Spriggans, you have no heart. Oh,
And what, pray tell, is that?
that's a shark monster.
Ah, that's a new species of shark. We approved the concept but a few days ago. Sharks are among the most popular sea creatures. Rare is the day when someone does not submit a new concept.
Surprised it's not crabs, since there's like everything evolves into a crab eventually.
At first, they were largely orthodox, consideration given to such things as size and environmental impact, and then a whimsical someone thought to bestow it with flight, another superior intelligence. And then the floodgates burst. Concepts with multiple heads, or arms and legs, and so on and so forth. It was getting absurd. A part of me wanted to tell them to go away and find something else to create, but in the end, I couldn't deny their passion. And here we are.
What? Is this fucking Gandalf?
That was too close. Are you unharmed?
Oh, is this a Zem? He's basically describing Sharknado, the movie series.
Well now, if it isn't a pair of familiar faces.
Banar, that we should meet you here.
As I mentioned earlier, the better part of the convocation holds that when we retire is when we return to the star. Well, she is not among said majority. Even after stepping down, she carries on with her work. Vanar is her name, and she is the previous Azem.
It has been a while, Hythlodaeus. You look well. Less so, Emmet Selk. I dare say the lines upon your brow have both deepened and doubled in number. A shame for one so young. You must make an effort to frown less often.
Easier said than done, thanks to your unruly successor.
How is she, if I may ask?
Incorrigible as ever. Rushed headlong into a volcano on the brink of eruption just the other day. I should be glad to share the tale in its entirety later, if you're so inclined.
Oh, you know I am. Now then, you are? I say, have you perchance come from the future?
Shh. Don't tell them.
I do not believe we have ever met, yet I sense my magic upon you. Therefore, if I wove the enchantment, I could only have done so at a later point in time.
What manner of magic is this, if I may ask?
A traveler's ward, of course. It prevents the corruption of one's ether.
Does it protect you from the enthrallment by primals by any chance?
Primals, you say? But I'm not familiar with such beings. But if they enthrall by warping the balance of ether, then yes, the magic would afford you a measure of protection. I gather from your question that you are not ignorant to its presence.
Hold on. From the future? That's absurd.
What is it? Are you unable to speak of the matter?
The reality to which you must return exists as a result of the final days. You cannot reshape the past to undo the tragedies of the present.
So, your actions here will not change your history, but they may yet affect the course of ours. How very exciting! I'm quite fond of delving into the unknown, and there's naught more unknown than the future. Until a moment finally arrives, we cannot know for certain what will come to pass, regardless of our supposed foreknowledge, so you needn't worry for us. More importantly, that you should go to such great lengths as to travel unto the past bespeaks the gravity of your quest. Will you not reveal it to us? Mayhap we can be of aid to your cause.
If this is true, then you've been keeping quite the secret to yourself. As a representative of the Convocation, I will hear it all. Your identity, purpose, everything.
Why don't we move to a place more conducive to calm conversation? I've been working here for some days now at an old friend's behest. If it is agreeable, we may make use of my accommodation at Poiton Oikos. We were meant to meet. I am certain of it. Else I wouldn't have marked you so clearly, and sent you unto myself in the past. It's precisely the sort of mischief I would get up to, and quite inspired, if I do say so myself.
My apologies, but before we move along, a colleague has tasked me with a matter which I'd rather not leave unresolved. It involves finding a certain concept-engraved crystal, and the quick-fingered Aureus which made off with it. An Aureus, you say? I think we might have seen the culprit before being distracted by that business with the shark. Would you like us to follow its ethereal trail? That would, of course, lead us only to the Aureus. There's no guarantee that it hasn't dropped or stashed away the crystal, you see. Please, even that much would be enormously helpful. While you are hunting down the thief, I can follow behind and scour the forest floor just in case. Could I ask you to join the search? I'd appreciate another pair of eyes to cover the land of the west of here. Many thanks. There's a small bridge leading to Poiton Oikos. Let us meet up there once we've exhausted our efforts. That is a coral with antlers. That is a super magic blasting cat that has antlers. Wow. Okay, I thought maybe we could climb on the rock, but I guess not. Don't let them jump you in a group. Also, that appears to be almost really big corn, except not corn. It's just massive. Various, I take it you speak from experience that you got jumped by a bunch of antler cats and got downed. In Minotaurs. For a fate nearby, yes. But I won. Well, congrats! I fought the antler cat, and the antler cat didn't win. No, okay, that didn't work. I don't know where I was going with that. A scintillating crystal upon which is stored some manner of esoteric content. Did I, though? Did I try? Did I? Our last searcher returns. I'm afraid the Aureus no longer had the crystal, nor was I able to find it as I followed in its wake. I don't suppose you fared any better? Oh, we fared better indeed. The crystal. Well done. Wonderful. Now I can focus on your tale without that missing concept nagging in my mind. You always had a knack for finding things. Traveling and searching go hand in hand. Travel often then. Seems we have something in common. Long ago, when I held the seat of Azem, I was forever trekking back and forth across the star in search of answers to people's problems. Naturally, the need for such journeys has lessened considerably since I entrusted the position to my whimsical successor. Yet I am still eager to come running should an old acquaintance or new interest require my personal attention. That is what brings me to Elpis, in fact. Many times has my presence been requested, my opinions sought concerning the habitat of this or that creation. Agreeing to help locate the missing crystal was a minor distraction, which now promises to become a major revelation. How strange and wonderful it is, the way one thing leads to another. Wouldn't you agree? We get it. You've basically been the main character in your life, as we are the main character in this game. Thank you again for your timely help. Now then, it's time I returned this stolen property. You would go on ahead to my accommodation. I will join you as soon as I have attended to the task. Follow the path straight ahead to the building at the top of the slope. I have the entire place to myself, so we can speak without fear of being disturbed or overheard. Oh, no, crystal. Crystal, gotta tune to it. I believe that should be all the crystals. Welcome to my temporary abode. Please, make yourself at home while I put on some tea.
A wonderful aroma. I feel more relaxed already.
Would that I had sweetmeats to offer, but I travel light out of habit. There's plenty of hot water though, so please have as much tea as you like. Now then, will you tell us your tale?
Why don't you start from the beginning? Preposterous. Utterly preposterous.
While not the words I would have chosen, I too have my doubts. Much of it borders on the incredulous. What of you, Vanar?
Not knowing the precise details of the first final days, it is difficult to determine the veracity of the tale. Supposing it is all true, I must ask myself why I would do what I did. Why would I feel I had no recourse but to oppose the 14 and create this Hydaelyn? Circumstances change, of course, but it would not have been an easy decision regardless. No, there must have been a reason. One compelling enough to force me to take such drastic measures. Then there is the Elpis flower, which I said would serve as a guide. That it's of import to your mission is plain, but your presence here leads me to believe that this place also holds significance. But what could it be? What are we meant to accomplish?
Might it not be simply thus? In the future, whence she came, the final days could not be averted. Mankind has no choice but to flee the star. By alerting us to that eventuality, perhaps you wish to pave the way for other futures.
Theoretically speaking, it is a possibility. Yet if that were my primary objective, I see no reason to guide our friend to Elpis specifically. The capital and Amarot, or even my own home would be more logical destinations.
True, true. I note also that Hydaelyn did not specify a point in time to which she must return. By this, it may be inferred that it was not critical that we should meet.
Alternately, she had reason to believe that our paths would converge, coincidental though it may seem.
This is quite a puzzle, and we do not have all the pieces.
Hardly any, but we do have one immutable fact. If the final days are indeed as described, they will bring death to all that I hold dear. Yet despite being afforded long years of preparation, the only provisions I could make were for flight. Nay, my first and foremost endeavor would be to find a way to forestall the coming doom.
Given that even the 14 failed, mayhap you deemed it impossible.
Nothing is impossible. This I have always believed. And if Hydaelyn is indeed me, she would believe the same.
Listen to yourself. Are you seriously entertaining the notion that you are a messianic figure in some far-fetched tale? Well, I will not. I refuse to accept that our world could be undone by some unforeseen calamity. I also take offense to my portrayal as a megalomaniacal madman. To sacrifice oneself for the star is a noble act, and I would hold those who gave themselves to this zodiac in the highest esteem. Yet, you claim I recreated Amarot and populated it with phantoms of our people? A bizarre indulgence that would be insulting to their memory. Worse still, I even invited you there. Literally invited my own downfall. Why would I do something so idiotic and inexplicable? Now, I will allow that the hypothetical task of restoring our world would be daunting in the extreme. The thought of having to bear such a burden for 1,000 lives horrifies me. But I would never forsake my duty. I would never forsake my brethren. You do not know me. I've had my fill of your fiction. I will return to my duty, and you will not bother me again. Emmett Selk! Wait!
You've seen much of Elpis already. If you have any observations to share, I should like to hear them. Hermes and his creation Meteon, you say? If Dynamis is the self-same energy as Akasha, as it likely seems, then those two may well be at the center of the calamity to come. This warrants further investigation. With that settled, it is time for action. The missing pieces of the puzzle are here, I'm certain of it. And when you find them, the picture my future self has painted will be complete, and you will have your answer. Now suffice it to say, I will aid you in your quest. Have faith. If Emmett Selk is the man Azum described to me, we've not seen the last of him.
Beyond everything that happened in that scene, which Barrios says, I think I'd be upset if I were Emmett too right now, yeah. Beyond everything that happened in that scene, I just have to say, wow. The music there was extremely fitting and very beautiful and just wonderful. This does, of course, create the conundrum because, as we were told, the future we have to the present we have to come back to is the present that's ending. Quite dramatic, yeah, indeed. So the present we have to come back to is the present where the final days is happening, and well, okay, no. Let's look at the specific wording. The specific wording was that we have to come back to the present that is the result of the first final days having happened. So maybe that's kind of the key, is we don't have... History can be affected and changed, but it doesn't have to be affected enough to undo the first final days. It just needs to be affected maybe to the point where the second final days doesn't come or can't come or can be prevented in some way. However, if that present means that Vana and Hydaelyn no longer create the space bunnies, I say we let the world burn. I'm sorry, but the space bunnies, the space bunnies are not worth giving up. I'm sorry. I want the space bunnies now and forever. Shall we begin our investigations then? I'm acquainted with Hermes, of course, but only as a visitor received by the chief overseer of Elpis. Of the man himself, I know only that which is common knowledge. Thus, I suggest we fall back on the tried and true method of conversing with the locals. The observers who live here can surely tell us more of Hermes and Meteon, and I have a good idea of where we might begin. Quick question for people that are more think-making than me. So the staff that we saw Hermes hold. So I know that there's the staff that has like been part of medical iconography forever, which has the twin snakes around it. Is that... because I can't remember whose staff that is, like, you know, the one that we associate with doctors and everything. I can't remember whose that is. Is it Hermes? Because, again, I'm very not learned on... I'm only learned on very specific parts of, like, Greek mythology, but did Hermes have a staff? I only knew Hermes as, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog, basically. So yeah, was the staff that he held that also had two snakes on it, like this Hermes in this game, is that a hermetic staff? Is that what the whole medical thing is based on, or was it just coincidence? Caduceus. Caduceus was a wand carried by Hermes, yeah. Interesting. Let's have a quick learning with Kara, shall we? Every time, even when I left a display capture option in there, it doesn't want to let me just automatically make it. Crop to window. The window is going to be Safari. Click OK. Scroll up. Order. Move to bottom. Then we move it up to here. And then we transform it and fit to screen. Okay. The Caduceus is a symbol of medicine. Caduceus is the traditional symbol of Hermes and features two snakes winding around an often winged staff. It is often used as a symbol of medicine, especially... Okay, so... Interesting, I want to learn... For the ancient Romans and Greeks, older representations from Syria and India of sticks and animals being like serpents or worms were interpreted by some as a direct representation of traditional treatment of Draconculiasis, the guinea worm disease. Okay. While there's ample historical evidence of the use of the Caduceus or herald staff to represent Hermes or Mercury, and by extension, commerce and negotiation, early evidence of any symbolic association between the Caduceus and medicine or medical practice is scarce and ambiguous. It is likely linked to the alchemical universal solvent, Azoth, symbol of which was the Caduceus. Okay. Staff carried by Hermes. Same staff was also borne by heralds in general, for example, by Iris, the messenger of Hera. The Homeric hymn to Hermes relates how his half-brother Apollo got enchanted by Hermes' music from his lyre, fashioned from a tortoiseshell, which Hermes kindly gave to him. Apollo, in return, gave Hermes the Codiceus as a gesture of friendship. The association with the serpent thus connects Hermes to Apollo, as later the serpent was associated with Asclepius, the son of Apollo. One Greek myth of origin of the Codiceus is part of the story of Tiresias, who found two snakes copulating and killed the female with his staff. Tiresias was immediately turned into a woman, and so remained until he was able to repeat the act with the male snakes 7 years later. This staff later came into the possession of the god Hermes, along with its transformative powers. Weird. Weird. Okay. Weird. Alright. Another myth suggests that Hermes or Mercury saw two serpents entwined in mortal combat. Separating them with his wand, he brought about peace between them, and as a result, the wand with two serpents came to be seen as a sign of peace. Okay, cool. So, yeah, that, I do have to say that is a very, heavy metal way of, transitioning. Find two snakes that are fucking and stab one with a staff, and boom, you just transitioned. That is a very, very interesting way to go about it. But I'm glad we got that cleared up. Thank you, everybody. Lots of symbolism. Yes, very much. See you, the woman standing in front of yonder building? Her name is Ismi. She is the one who made arrangements for my stay in Elpis, and from what I recall, she has held a position here for quite some time. Chances are she can provide us with some insights. Go and ask her questions. I will help with drawing out answers if need be, but I leave the choice of topic up to you. Questions for me? Well, I suppose I have no other pressing duties at the moment. Greeks, man, right? Just yeah, they had some wild ones. I gotta say that's maybe it's something in the pomegranate. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. There's a psychedelic component to it that we just haven't realized yet. All right, time to play Ace Attorney. Greetings, Ismene. My friend here is desperately curious about Chief Hermes. I was wondering if you might indulge her. Certainly, Mr. Svana. Anything to be of service? What do you wish to know? What are Hermes' interests? His interests? Well, he is an authority on flying life forms, and has expansive knowledge of living creatures in general. Is that what you wish to know? How would you describe him as a person, as a colleague? He's a quiet man, reserved, you might say, and occasionally somewhat poor with his choice of words. His reticent nature, however, does not prevent him from carrying out his duties as chief overseer. I hope that answers your question. Was there anything else? I cannot rightly say. As the chief's personal creation, Medion has not been subjected to observation and study like other concepts. So one day she was simply there, and what do you make of her abilities? I understand that she is a highly unusual familiar, able to read emotions and communicate directly with one's mind. Exactly how she was created with that talent, however, is a mystery to me. My apologies. I wish I could explain her nature in more depth, but I've not had occasion to discuss it with Chief Hermes. Do you trust her? I beg your pardon? I've known Chief Hermes for many years. Though I cannot say we are close, he has never withheld information to the detriment of our duties, if that is what you mean. Forgive us, we seem to have veered slightly off course here. Is there perhaps someone else who could tell us more about Meteor? That would be Timaeus. He has a similar expertise with flying concepts, and is more than eager to discuss the subject. You'll find him conducting his observations on the banks of the stream, somewhere to the east. Oh, and, unless you take a particular joy in rambling discourse, I suggest you keep your questions concise. We shall keep that in mind. Thank you for your patience and insight. Think nothing of it. If there's aught else you need during your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. Come, Kuroja. I think we've taken enough of Ismeen's time. Our investigation is off to a fine start, wouldn't you agree? From here, I propose that we split up. I shall continue making inquiries with the resident observers, if you could track down the colleague Ismeen mentioned. Although I felt compelled to take the reins of that previous conversation, your fearless style of interrogation will eventually lead you to the answers you seek. All I ask is that you watch your footing around the stream. We can meet back here once you've finished speaking with this Timaeus. Tim, there you are. Yes, I am Timaeus. But please keep your voice down, you'll startle the birds. Poison, you're getting representation in this game. We got a real birder on our hands. So, what is it you wish to speak about? Chief Hermes' work? A worthy subject indeed. Those beings which soar through the clouds, majestic and graceful, are ever a favorite of creators. Even now, with so many varieties in existence, the flood of newly imagined concepts continues unabated. What sets the Chief's creations apart, however, is how they benefit from his boundless knowledge of the celestial realm. Birds that climb so high that they disappear from view. Others which traverse the boundless sky in moments, and all without riding the currents. I know of none save he who can conceive of such marvels. Even we who prize elegance of form above all else are dumbfounded by his genius. So it turns out Hermes is an ultra birder, is like the god birder is what I'm getting here. Always, and if you could have Hermes' power, what bird would you create? And also, welcome, Ban. We'll get your bean redemption in a second here. Oh no, some of my beans spilled. There we go. All right. This is actually the best music to have when eating a bean. All right, everybody. We will spin the wheel of destiny. I'll have to think on that. Oh, of course. Ban got the Carolina Reaper bean. So we have to find a bean that looks just like that. Red with some black. So now there's these beans, which are black with some red to them. But those happen to be the cayenne beans. This one seems the most likely culprit. It's red and it has some spots of black to it. But I want to see if we can find one that's a little more convincing. There's these other ones that they're red with some random spots to them, but they're not quite the same. And those are probably more likely to be sriracha beans. So this is another one that's red with a black spot to it. I feel like they didn't include a whole lot of Reaper beans. Well, we will give this a try. Here's your bean redemption band. Kind of spicy. I don't know if it's quite the Reaper level of spicy. I mean, we haven't even hit hiccup level yet. Yeah, I think that one might have just been a sriracha bean. It's definitely got a lot of spice there, but it's not that super spice that we're looking for here. That's a weird shaped jelly bean. We'll try this bean. That one's somehow less spicy. We'll eat one of these. Ben, you're getting the 3 bean redemption just because I think we're out of the Carolina Reaper beans. That one was a cayenne bean, but it's mostly sweet. Oh, okay. According to this, habanero is hotter than cayenne. Okay. Yeah. Probably the alcohol. You're numb now. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more spice. Yes, man, I am wearing a button up. I had a funeral to go to before the before the stream. At some point, I feel like we're going to end up having to do the beef fizz on stream thing. Or your tolerance is increasing. I mean, it's possible, but I wouldn't imagine... Because we don't do beans too often. Ah, Ban found an online spinner. I didn't know it was gonna make noise. Oh my god. Oh, sorry everybody. Didn't intend for that to happen. Wow. Okay, the alcohol is not making... The alcohol, if anything, enhanced the spice. My tongue is starting to feel a little bit lightning to it. Which is great for when I need to read things on screen here. All right. My opinion on that matter would be superficial at best. Despite my admiration for Medion as a concept, I've never delved too deeply into the inner workings of her nature. I know that she has a gift for communicating via emotions, but otherwise her abilities are a mystery to me. You get what you pay for, man. When you're just using channel points and not real money, you get what you pay for. Oh. I know that she has a gift for communicating via emotions, but otherwise her abilities are a mystery to me. Chief Hermes could choose to submit Medion's concept to the Bureau of the Architect. Then, will the design be registered for public scrutiny? Analyzing a colleague's creation before that step is frowned upon, to say the least. Of course, if he came to me, a fellow artisan looking for advice, that would be an entirely different story. Do you know of Dynamis and Entelechyes? Dynamis and Entelechyes? Those terms do sound vaguely familiar. Was there not a flower made here in Elpis which exhibited properties of one or the other? It must have been centuries since I last heard anyone speak of such things. Has there been a resurgence in interest? Then why bring up the subject? I'm flattered you sought my insight, but I cannot afford to neglect my duties for the sake of idle chatter. Now, I really must return to my observations. Surely you have your own tasks to attend to? So, Tim is saying that it's been centuries since he's heard about Dynamis, yet our old pal Hermes is very versed in Dynamis, so... And Hermes did say that only a select few scholars would know about it. So... Huh. I wonder what thread we're tugging at here. My tongue has the feeling as if I had just eaten an entire bag of salt and vinegar chips. That feeling like it's cracked and dry. Back already? That was quick work. You were obviously clever enough to head off any of that rambling Ismene mentioned. So, have you any new findings to share? I see. Even an expert in the field had little understanding of Medion's capabilities, let alone an awareness of Dynamis. My questions resulted in much the same answers. Hermes' colleagues view Medion as his personal project, and could provide no details beyond those which you just told me. Which leads me to believe that the only person with any significant knowledge of Dynamis is Hermes himself. Yes, we've made some progress here, but more information is needed if we are to reach any definitive conclusions. At present, the strongest link we have in the final days is the power of Dynamis, and the Entelechyes which can control it. Yet most scholars are only vaguely aware of these terms, let alone study them in any depth. Except for Hermes, it seems. Thus I am inclined to stay our current course, and learn all we can about the Chief Overseer and his familiar. And on that subject, was there aught else of note you can tell me about Medion? Aside from her unorthodox method of communication? There are more like her. She has sisters. Yep. I rather wish you had mentioned that earlier. In any event, would you care to elaborate? So these siblings of hers now travel the great expanse in search of deeper meaning. Thank you. Though the mystery at hand remains unresolved, I feel you've touched upon a vital clue, one we should keep in mind as we continue. Next, I propose we take ourselves to Peripetia Crystalline, not far from here. Just follow the path to the west. I don't know, it's got crystal in the name. Nothing good has ever come from crystals being involved. Ben, how are you doing tonight? Oh, okay, so it decided not to load my chat again. Hold on a second. There we go. Trying Planet Coaster. Oh, that's right. Wait, have the PlayStation games already, the free ones already released? Primordial Hippo Surf. That was a bad use of Sharpcast. This tower and the one further along are both part of Peripetia Crystalline, a facility where they archive all of Elpis' observational and testing records. Despite how they appear from the outside, the interior is actually a vast area of magically interconnected spaces, which, while fascinating, is not the reason we are here, is it? I shall cut my architectural lesson short and see what those two archivists have to share. If you could find someone to speak with over at the other tower, I shall join you there anon. Why is it that this place, like these... I don't know why, but these towers make me think of the library in Charlotte. Which would be weird because that library was built underground, but it still had, like, bridges connecting each other. You have questions for me? Certainly. Just a moment while I conclude my current appointments. Indeed. So, if you could provide a comprehensive log of those behaviors, we should then have sufficient data for our official records. Now, what was it you wished to speak with me about? The Chief Overseer's personal research project? And by that, I assume you mean Medion? Such undocumented studies are difficult to track. After all, hardly a day goes past without seeing a researcher trailed by one creation or another. I'm afraid I cannot tell you exactly when Medion appeared, only that she now spends much of her time at Chief Hermes' side. Although, I do recall an interesting tale my dearest Galeen shared with me. Galeen is my partner, and a fellow researcher here in Elpis. She was returning late one night when she caught sight of Chief Hermes sending Medion heavensward, a host of them. For several days she would speak of that scene with wonder, describing it as one of the most beautiful spectacles she had ever witnessed. That sounds like a story I should like to hear. Mistress Vana, I thought you had already returned to the surface. Permit me to thank you again for your invaluable contribution to our concept placement proposal. Pray do not mention it. I should say my original plan was to leave after that task, but I have since become engrossed with Chief Hermes' research. Would you favor me with a retelling of this sight which so delighted your Galeen? Of course. Or you could hear it from her lips directly if you prefer. At present, she should be observing a subject in Metabasios Thalassa. She does enjoy her time there, watching the sea creatures hunt and play, gazing upon the salty waters of the world's oceans, recreated in such sublime detail. I imagine you must find similar joy in indulging your boundless curiosity, Mistress Fana, even though such pursuits must continually and regretfully delay your return to the star. Indeed they do. 'Tis a rest well-deserved and long overdue, I should think. How greatly have we prospered for the wisdom you accumulated during your travels as a Zen. And what would Elpis be without your earlier academic work? The theories you developed served as the basis of many techniques still in use today. Man is a creature of contemplation, but none embody that nature with as much enduring passion as you. I dare say there is not a soul alive more worthy of a return. I shall rejoice the day you depart on your final journey. I will be honored. Well, shall we take this opportunity to meet with Galeen in person? Then allow me to reconfigure the door to the archives here. We'll take you up to the Skyway and spare you the need to avoid hostile concepts on the ground. That would be most helpful. Thank you. I have opened the path to the Skyway. Once you pass through the door, simply walk straight across to the next tower and ask for admittance to the upper tier. Upon arriving at the upper tier, walk straight across the Skyway, and you will find yourself at the entrance to Metabasios Thalassa. Galeen will be eager to share her tale with you, I am sure. Wow, I can't see my house from up here. Mistress Fana, just passing through? Allow me to prepare the path. If you need further assistance, there's always an observer or two out on the upper Skyway. Mistress Fana? I was not told to expect... we would have prepared an official welcome. Please, there's no need for fanfare. I only wish to speak with Galeen, if that might be arranged. The creators of this game are obsessed with details. Fascinating. They are. They really are. Yes, Galeen, of course. I will inform her immediately. But she may be engaged in a testing phase. Could you be in for something of a... You could be in for something of a wait. Should I let her know your business is urgent? That won't be necessary. This lovely view will keep us occupied until she is ready to receive us.
A delightful breeze and a breathtaking view. What is it like in the future? Is the world still a beautiful place? Dark, hidden places, rife with danger. Those have an altogether different, but no less powerful sort of appeal. While we wait, will you not tell me about your adventures? Well, not the portentous events which led you here, but the simple delights all your own. By learning about the future world, I may gain insight into future me's plans. But more than that, I have an interest simply as a fellow traveller. Short of going somewhere oneself, there's naught more stirring than hearing another's account.
Pretty sure we were recounting to her the trials of Aurum Vale.
Incredible. Would that I could have been there to see it. Yours is a harsh and unforgiving world. Yet in spite of this, your brethren hold fast to their virtue. To know that the light of mankind's potential still shines, even in that faraway place, it gives me heart. Thank you for regaling me with your tales. I will treasure every word. As you know, I was once a scholar. And among other things, I sought to understand the workings of the world. What exactly is ether? How formed the laws of nature? Whence sprung mankind? Riddles and mysteries beyond counting. Over the years, I have managed to find answers to some few of them. Yet rather than attain a sense of mastery, the more I understood, the more I came to hold the world and its miracles in awe. We too are miracles, each and every one of us, born of the warm breath of life that traverses the heavens, swirling through eternity. When I fully grasped the improbability of our existence, nothing felt impossible anymore. If it could be imagined, it could be done. A passion swelled within me, an epiphany dispelling all preconceptions of what was natural and true, and a presence without, immense yet intimate, fate perhaps, holding us in its tender embrace. As reassuring as it was intimidating, how keenly aware I became of creation's fragility, built as it is upon precarious happenstance. I was overcome with an irrepressible urge to know the world more intimately, to hear its voice, feel its breath. I ventured forth on a journey that very day, so very long ago now. Freed from presumption and prejudice, I saw the world through a newborn's eyes. Everything fresh and new, and so beautiful. Lands that stretched on forever. Skies one could drown in. The heartbeat of nature, silent yet strong. And amidst it all a people, beacons of light and life. Laughter that warmed my heart like naught else before. They are my meaning, and my purpose, my love. And so long as they need help, I cannot return to the star. Perhaps my future self is still waiting for it. The moment she can let go and walk unto the end. Safe in the knowledge that man will find his own way. You, who are our future, tell me this, and tell me true. Has your journey been good? Has it been worthwhile?
Pray forgive my lateness. My observation subject was rather irritable, and it took a while to settle it down.
No need to apologize. Your work takes precedence. Besides, we had a pleasant conversation in the meantime.
You're too kind. Now then, I'm told you wished to ask me some questions.
Indeed. I've an interest in one of Hermes' creations. Meteon. You witnessed a host of them take flight, yes?
Oh, that! Yes, I did. 'Twas in the dark of the morn. I'd left the Thalassai after nocturnal observation. As I walked along, I spied a bright light climbing high into the southeastern skies. Then, in an instant, it was gone, like a shooting star, only rising rather than falling. But then another shot up, then another, and another. Intrigued, I made my way to the edge to investigate. And who should I spy on an isle to the south but Hermes and Meteon, the Matea, rather. There were lots of them, and I realized they must be the shooting stars that I'd seen.
A dazzling spectacle indeed. Have you spoken with Hermes about this?
Oh, yes. The sight left such an impression on me that I approached him about his mystery project the very next day. Alas, he said that he couldn't reveal anything just yet, that he needed to conduct further tests. It shouldn't be long now, though. He often returns to that isle, and I have a feeling he's nearing a breakthrough.
Splendid. We are likewise eager for the details. Well, that is all we wish to ask. Thank you for taking the time to indulge our curiosity.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to speak with other inquisitive souls. Oh, and will you be descending now? If so, I shall link the doors for you.
Please.
So, another piece of the puzzle falls into place. From what we've learned thus far, I think we can safely conclude Hermes hasn't been revealing the details of his research to others, which suggests that either someone will appropriate his discoveries and make use of them, or that Hermes himself will have a hand in causing the final days. Since we have no reason yet to suspect the former, we should consider the latter the more likely possibility. Proceeding under that assumption, our next step should be to divine why, or even if, he might desire such a terrible fate for our star. Well, so yes, many theories abound. Many theories abound about what his research could be. Well, what his research could be doing, what it could be affecting. The Matea, I mean, from what we've learned, I believe they're made of the dynamis. So they're made of that emotional energy, the emotional power that exists within existence. Is it possible, maybe, by him creating many and sending them out, it's somehow caused a depletion in some way? He said that of all the known ether or energy within existence, he posits that somewhere around 50 or 60% of it is dynamis. So I wouldn't imagine that just making some Matea could be depleting it enough. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what could be going on here? A lot to think about. A lot to think about before our next time with the game. So with that, since it is now 9 p.m., we will be ending the stream. And boom. Inadvertently tripped to Cosmic Domino. That most likely. I mean, and again, we know that Hermes, back in our present, he kind of went all hardcore kill everything, burn it all. So yeah, I mean the link, the transformation between the Hermes we know and that Hermes, which we knew as Fandaniel, the transformation between the two, the link between the two, the events. I mean, yeah, this is all very, very interesting, very intriguing. Oh, excuse me. But as I said, this is going to be the end of the stream. I would like to thank you all yet again for coming out and hanging out with me, for being here with me, for hopefully enjoying your time here as we traversed Endwalker, as we walked the end, as we talked about things and stuff and things. We're going to be raiding Audi, as we are wont to do. Good place to stop. It picks up a lot very soon. Rolling Ball of Emotions. Good. So that'll be a great place to come back to on Friday for our stream. Because tomorrow's stream is going to be Persona 3 FES. We're getting closer. We're getting to the final days there as well. It's just that right now we unfortunately have a tad bit of grinding to do. But yeah, so we'll be back at 5 p.m. Central tomorrow. Again, thank you all so much for coming out. Thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for putting up with my giant face on your screen and talking about sad things and getting emotional. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had fun here. I hope you all have a good Sunday. I hope your weekend's been well. I hope your week starts off well if I don't see you tomorrow. Hope you keep being awesome. I hope the best in life for you. And yeah. That about sums it up. So, have a good night, y'all. Keep it real. We'll catch you next time.